Hello everybody, welcome to Owen Automotive. This is episode 4 of the Preservation E-Type. If you want to get up to speed, just watch the 3 previous episodes where we pour over all the original details of this 40-year stored 1962 fixed head. Now in this episode, I really want to get this engine installed. It's been fully rebuilt by an expert here in town, and it's pretty much ready to go. Even got the slave cylinder mounted already. And so this is a really nice package, fully rebuilt, and we knew that the engine was good before my customer purchased the car. Now there's one slight hiccup. One is that it's leaking oil. I'll go in a close shot here, and that's at the layshaft. For whatever reason on these Moss boxes, the layshaft pokes out the end of the transmission. And there's a little O-ring in there, and that's causing a very slight leak. So we're gonna try to fix that before we put it in the car, because that'll slowly leak onto the exhaust and stain it, and I don't want that. So let's get into it. Okay, the first thing I want to do is take off the output flange. There's a retaining nut here. Gonna zap it off. Now the flange should gently tap off. There it is, and the seal surface looks nice. See that? So what we want to see is the seal surface with no pits, rust pits in there. Excellent. Okay, got all the bolts out. They were Whitworth. Let's remove the rear extension. Some silicone in there. I want to take the shafts with me. Looks like they're staying in place, which is good. There we are. No, there we go. So we see lots of silicone here. There's a small O-ring that wasn't sealing around the lay shaft, and we gotta renew that. All right, got everything cleaned up here, ready to put this transmission back together. So this O-ring was critical. It's little small things like this that can really make the difference in these engines and transmissions. So this O-ring is part number 4285. It's specific. You need to order one. You can't just put the generic 1/8 O-ring in there. And that'll ensure that this shaft won't leak oil, which is nice. Also, it would help to put something in here. Your choice of what aviation sealant, silicone, Hylamar, whatever, will also aid in sealing this area. Now, a lot of people blame the seal that's built into this housing. See this seal right here? That's often blamed for oil leaks. And that's because the flange here, it needs to be perfect. I always polish my flanges up. That way we get a good seal there and it won't rip up the seal and it'll last for a lot longer. So it's nice to see that surface nicely cleaned and polished and free of any rust pits. I'm gonna throw this back together with some silicone, and then we can put this motor and transmission in the car. Just a quick tip here, I'm assembling this, but I want to put the flange in first to make sure that this cover is centered before I tighten it down. Yeah, it's time for the great marriage. We're going to install the car down on top of the motor. And we pretty much got it all prepared here from the engine rebuilder. The rebuilder even had the clutch slave all set up. That's really nice. Now when the car comes down on top of it, it clears the engine subframes pretty well. That's because the motor mounts are out. We'll see those on the bench. But we also have to make sure that the engine stabilizer mount here goes through the hole in the firewall. That's really important. It's really tough to get in there afterward. Now, as I said, the motor mounts are out. That's the only way this is possible. That's the only way that the motor will actually clear the engine subframes. I have the hardware here on the bench. We can see it. So all this stuff will be installed on the motor after we get it into the engine bay. Look at that, engine is in. I'm really excited. It seems like now the rest of the car can just go together. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff to put on. We have a lot of hoses, cooling systems, exhaust systems, a lot of stuff to put on. But what I want to do right away is finish the suspension. Now with the weight of the motor in here, we can overcome the twist of the torsion bars and really button up the suspension and get the sway bar in. I have everything over here on the bench. Here we have the torsion bars. Now I put a little line on these torsion bars so I can put them back in the exact same location. Here's some of the mounting brackets at the rear. So I'm cheating a bit. I don't have to use the distance bar that's listed in the manual to give you the correct distance at rest. Instead, I can just go back to what the factory had installed. Of course, original hardware. This has all been black oxided. Yes, the reaction plate is supposed to be black oxide, so I had it done like that. I have the original bolts here for these brackets. That's the way we're rolling with this car. And I got the new Koni shock absorbers. I love these Koni shock absorbers. They're adjustable, but you just put them in as soft as they will go in the E-Type. And even have the original pins here at the top with the castellated nuts and the thin washers that Jaguar seems to always put under their castellated nuts. So yeah, let's put these in the car. All right, getting ready to go here. You can see the smooth oil pan. That's indicative of these early 62 E-Types. Now I got the cross member in. Jaguar call it a reaction plate. This adds a lot of rigidity to the chassis and the body tub. It also acts as the anchor point here with that bracket for the torsion bars. And it's essential that all this is done correctly. I have the 1/2-inch bolt up there in grade 8, probably the most important bolt on the car. And of course, just behind it there is the ground strap. And I made sure it was nice and clean in there so we had a good ground for the engine. That's pretty important. Now I cheated somewhat. I drew a line on the torsion bars and a line on the bracket so I can put this back, put the torsion bars right back where they came from. I'll slide it through the rear and then push it through to the lower control arm. So let's do it. Okay, so now that we have the weight of the motor here, I can use the jack and overcome the torsion bars and attach the top ball joint. Get the suspension dialed in. There we are. Next up, going to put the shock absorber on. That's going to limit the travel so we can safely attach these tie rod ends without damaging them. And these early ones have a sleeve here that goes into the control arm. All right, that front suspension's fully installed. Really happy about that. You can see the marks that I made before it went apart there. So I know the torsion bars are in the exact same spot. Front and rear, it's pretty important. So next up, I want to do the rear suspension. It's sitting here on the ground. This was restored by my friend Simon Scott, and it's been fully rebuilt. The differential's been rebuilt. New calipers and wheel cylinders there. New Koni shock absorbers. New bearings, new seals, new shims. The whole thing's done, just ready to go in. So thanks, Simon, for a great job. Now, there's a bit of a trick to this, and that's putting the front mount on the rear cradle before it goes in. It doesn't say to do that in the shop manual, but if you look at the shop manual, you can definitely see that front mount there. It's on that open two-seater with a hard top, and that makes it go in a lot easier. Now, I prepared the area up here. There's a couple things have to do to this area before it goes in. One is the fuel line, so you can see that new fuel line going down. It's clipped up there, and there's a bit of slack here to provide room for the cradle. You need that slack. That's a tip from Simon. And I've also prepared this area. I've just given it some new undercoater, fresh coat of undercoater, because we did find some rust in there, and I think episode 2, and I had to remedy that. And also, if somebody wanted to go a little further and put undercoater on the rest of the car, they don't have to take the rear end out. It's already nicely refinished. See, the drive shaft's already in. The drive shaft has to be in the car before the rear end goes in. And I think we got all our ducks in a row. You can see the one mount here that's attached to the body and the bump stop there. So yeah, we're ready to go. Let's put it in the car.
It's looking pretty good, actually. Huh? Back. on the jack on there. Give it a couple of pumps, see what happens. Hey, hold it. My screwdriver in there. Let it down for just the tiniest bit. Okay, it's in.
Nice. Look at that, rear end is in. Now it goes in there pretty easy, but there is a lot of connections to make sure that you get properly snugged up because you don't want this rear end falling out of the car. And another reason why I like to put the rear end in is because it balances the car with the engine at the front, so you get a better hoist balance, and the car isn't nose heavy. That's a big bonus. Now you can see some of the extra links we had to put in here, the sway bar mount, that all had to be dealt with. And then I also had to make sure that all of the bolts here that hold the rubber mounts were secured. Got a new bump stop up in there as well. Now the radius arms, they have a peculiar donut mount here with a lock bolt and lock wire. That's kind of mimicking what the factory did with that lock wire there. And you want to make sure that the safety strap's in there. That holds it off in case the rubber shears. It's a pretty rare event, really. Got the drive shaft up in there. Got the handbrake linkage. You can see it goes up in there, the handbrake linkage. And also the flex line for the braking system. Now I'll just take a minute and talk about this rear end suspension. It's a pretty awesome piece of engineering. And it's one piece of engineering that started with the E-Type and kept evolving. They used it in the XJS and it kept getting wider. It was eventually used in the saloons with the S-Type, I believe, going forward. And there's actually a version of this rear suspension that was fitted to like up until the 2006 Jaguar XK8, believe it or not. So yeah, I just love this setup, the dual coilovers, this independent rear. This really heavy unit was actually stuck in a lot of hot rods as well. Well, that does it for today. Really happy to have the complete drive line in this car. It feels like a real step forward, and maybe in the next episode we'll have this thing running. Now we have a little extra time, so let's go over to the bench and see what arrived. Okay, here we go. I just got a box from Texas. My friend Brad at VintageJagParts.com has sent us up some real treasures. Okay, this is something for my own car. I noticed this on the website, and it's something that I just had to have. It's the choke mechanism for an E-Type. You can see there's actually a ball in there, a ball bearing, and the choke knob is actuated. It clicks on the E-Type, and the whole reason why I got this is for this original knob actually. The one on my car is reproduction, and so I'm gonna swap this out. Very neat piece. Okay, here we go. This is sweet. Very well wrapped, thanks Brad. So we have an E-Type Series 1 left-hand drive dashboard with a few kind of junk gauges, but this is really nice. I like to have these units because they help aid in conversion from, say, a Series 1, Series 2. If somebody wanted to convert their Series 2 to have a Series 1 dashboard, this is invaluable, and the original vinyl on here looks good. So yeah, that's great. Awesome. I believe this is the other side to the same dashboard. Careful here. Oh, it's munched a bit. That's okay. So here we have the other complementary side of a Series 1 dashboard. Again, essential in the conversion. What I liked about this one is it still had the glove box intact. And yeah, we see that it was body number 6315. It's amazing how many E-Type parts are out there. I estimate that only half survives. So there's lots of parts available like this. And the vinyl's good on this too. So a nice, beautiful, reusable piece. We have the handle for that passenger side dashboard piece. Love original stuff like this. That's the original leather from the 60s. I'm gonna use it just like that. Okay, two more pieces. Two more pieces. Let's save the best for last. here we go. It's the centerpiece for a dashboard, E-Type. We know it's E-Type, not saloon, because it has the pivot here built in straight into the panel itself. The reason why I chose this one is it had a really good vinyl surface here. Had a couple cigar lighter marks, but that's okay. That shows that it's original. Nice and clean on the back. All the gauges get a ground on this plate back here, so it's nice to see this pretty clean. And again, we got some switches, gauges, so if I have a failure here at the shop, I can turn to some of these switches and gauges. And also, this is good to convert a Series 2 into a Series 1. Awesome. Okay, here we go. Now this is a pretty special piece. It's a really, really rare item. Oh, look at that. Oh my God, this is so awesome. Look at that. Holy moly, I love this. Oh man, oh man. So this is the main event. This is the real reason why I made the order from Brad. And this is a really, really special aluminum centerpiece for a Series 1 E-Type. And this comes from a later 3.8. It doesn't have the dot pattern on it. It has the crosshatch pattern. So that makes it pretty rare. Fully outfitted with all the gauges. Look at that in switch gear. I am in love. My plan for this is to put it in my own E-Type. I think it'll be wonderful in there. Thanks so much, Brad. It's such a wonderful piece. And if you're interested in stuff like this, go check out Brad's website, vintagejagparts.com. I can't recommend him enough. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right, well, that does it for this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Again, if you have any tips, tricks, comments, or trade secrets, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. All right, that's it. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.